My interest in reading these quotes and fables, stories, poems is in keeping with the notion that, as Vervaeke discusses, of finding wisdom. Because wisdom is not something you know, it is not a proposition, it is not a bit of information that you have to add into your brain. It's something closer to knowing how to catch a baseball than knowing something about physics or an equation. It is a way of being. It's a way of being in the world. Not something you have, but something you are. It's something that has to be gained as a global insight, not as a mere bit of information to add on to previous bits of information. You can have knowledge, but you have to be wise. And the challenge of that is that you cannot get there merely by gaining knowledge. You must get there through an insight, through an experience. And in lieu of direct experience, stories are the closest second best thing. Poetry often compresses a story or an experience into an artistic rendering that can place us somehow into a wiser way of being, even if just for a moment. And the same with stories and fables and myths. It's the reason that Jesus used parables to teach, because he wasn't teaching information, he was teaching a way of being in the world. It's why most religious texts tell stories rather than conveying mere information. Today's reading comes from a book that I have found greatly influential, which is The Spirituality of Imperfection. It comes from a set of literature that guides Alcoholics Anonymous, and the reason I emphasize this text is because it uses stories as a means of conveying its information. And the first story that is told is on the value of stories. In truth, there are no new stories. Stories become new to us when something in our own experience makes us ready to hear them. Story listening requires a childlike wisdom that combines innocence and experience, and no one can be both innocent and experienced in the presence of every story. And so not every reader will get every story, at least not right away. Story, like the spirituality that it conveys, cannot be commanded or forced. It must float loosely within its vehicle, the better to lodge in each hearer's individual spirit. A master began one of his books with a story that consoles anyone who must confront the impossibility of explaining a story, or I might say, a poem. The story goes that a disciple once complained to the master, "You tell us stories, but you never reveal their meaning to us." Said the master, "How would you like it if someone offered you food and chewed it up before giving it to you? No one can find your meaning for you, not even the master."